first one, what is the reciprocal of negative 7 over 21? So that vocabulary word of reciprocal. Layla.
Negative 21 over 7.
Very good. So all you do is flip it. That's all reciprocal means. Now, if it just asks for reciprocal, that is the true reciprocal. But sometimes in digits, it might say, do the reciprocal and simplify. So if it goes on and says that and simplify, that means make it smaller. So you would want to go ahead and change this to negative 3. But this is technically the reciprocal. Just watch for what the direction is saying if they want it in simplified form. Okay? All right, next one. We have learned how to divide fractions. How do I do that, Daniel?
You should wait, hold on. Okay. Well, you keep the first one.
Good.
And then you change the division sign to a multiplication.
Very good.
And then you flip the fraction.
Flip this fraction to 5/7. So it's reciprocal. I say keep change flip. If however you want to do it, that's fine with me. Okay, then I look for anything I can cross cancel. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can cross cancel there to make my life easier. So I'm just going to multiply straight across the top and straight across the bottom. So this would be negative 45. Whoops. Negative 45 over 14. That is an improper fraction. So what do I have to say to myself, Nick? I would reduce it. This one won't reduce though, unfortunately. I know, right? Now, okay, let's simplify. I gotta change its form. Brianna?
How many times does 14 go into 45?
Very good. How many times does 14 go into 45?
6. 3
3 times, right? Okay, and so 14 times 3 is 42. So how far is it from 42 to 45? 3 more over 14, and then I have to remember that this fraction was negative, which means this whole number is negative, and that would be my final answer. Negative 3 and 3/14. All right, so then I gave you basically the same thing, but only in a word problem, because you guys sometimes freak out when word problems come up. So this says the equation D equals negative 3/5 T, describes the change in degrees Fahrenheit, which is D. So this is the change in degrees after T hours. So this stands for hours. Okay, so if this says the temperature falls a total of 7.5 degrees, how long does it take the temperature to fall? Where am I going to put that 7.5 degrees in?
Put it first, and then you got to do 2 times 7 times 1.
Okay, so you're changing it to an improper fraction.
And you keep.
Okay, hold on. I like what you're saying. Let me just write down. Okay, so you got to put this into here, because that's what D is. Okay, so 7 1/2 equals negative 3/5 T. Okay, Daniel, now go. Keep going.
All right. Then.
Yeah, what were you telling me? You were right.
Then you multiply.
Okay, wait. What do we got to do here?
Oh, I thought you do 2 times 7. Then you add 1.
You add 1.
You keep the.
Good. So now we have this. Okay. All right. Now what do we do? This is the tricky part, Brandon. We got to get rid of that negative 3/5. How are we going to get rid of that negative 3/5? What do we have to do to each side, Layla?
Divided by 15 over 2.
Not divide this side.
And the other side.
Okay, yeah, this side. Very good. Okay, so remember, we looked at this the other day. I gave you an easy one like this. Do you remember this? And I said you divide both sides by 5. So where did I start? Where? Yeah, that's at the top. But where the variable is, right? So look where the variable is. There's T. So what do you want to get rid of? The T. No, not you want the T to stay there. He's good. You want to get rid of the negative 3/5. Okay, so we're going to divide both sides by negative 3/5. Okay, so let's set it up. So 15 over 2 divided by negative 3/5. Now it's the exact same thing I just did, right? So keep it, change it, flip it. So 15 over 2 times 5 over negative 3. Can I cross cancel anything? The 15 and the 3, right? So 3 goes into itself once, 3 goes into 15. So 5 times 5 is 25. 2, right? How many times is 2 going to 25? Once.
25 can go into 2. No, 2 goes into 2.
14 divided
Once.
Okay, it goes in how many times? 14 and 14 is 28. 12 times, because that would be 24 with 1 left over. There we go. Negative 12 and 1/2. Okay, that was hard. If you got at least bits and pieces of that, you should feel good about it. Did anybody get it right? Dan got it right? Did Morgan got it right? Good job. That's awesome. That's not hard. You got halfway? You know what? If you got it to this part, or even this part, I mean, that's something. You at least got an equation right. You were thinking about how to set it up. If you didn't get the whole thing, that's okay. That's a hard one.
Will that be on the test since it's so
Sure. Could be. Yes. This doesn't mean I expect you to be perfect at it at this second. Okay, so real quickly, I want to review the rules. And I want to do this pretty quick because I want to really get to the meat and potatoes of today. All right, so tell me the rules. How do you add? How do you add integers, Layla?
add and keep the same sign, or add and keep the sign of the bigger number.
Okay, so if they're the same sign,
Yeah.
then I add and keep sign, right? Keep sign. So examples of that would be like -3 plus -5 would be -8. That's an example. Or 4 plus 9 is 13, because I would want an example of each one. Okay, what's the second rule, Brandon?
If they're two different, then you subtract them.
Good.
Equal or bigger.
Perfect. Different signs, I really subtract. I keep sign, a larger number.
Oh, so that doesn't go with the,
Keep sign of larger number. Okay, then I would put some examples of that, right? I could make up some pretty quick examples. Say I do -9 plus 5. That would be -4. Okay, or if I do a reverse one, I could say 15 plus -5. And that would be a +10. So now I've got an example of both types. Adding has the most rules. Okay, that's the only one that's got tons and tons of rules. Okay, what are my rules for subtraction? This one's the easy one. There's really only one rule. Daniel?
Well, it's kind of like addition, but like if
Not kind of like, well, it is. Right, what's the one saying I have to know? Nope, that's division of fractions.
keep changing.
Okay, so I say same, change, but you can say keep, that's fine. Same, change. And then what rules do you default to after you do same, change? Layla?
you would, it would be, if it was addition and, well, two positive numbers would be like,
No, which rules do I follow afterwards?
oh,
Yeah, I follow addition rules, right? I do same, change, and then I just revert back to addition rules. So that's what I really need on my subtraction. And then, of course, I should have some examples where I can say, like, 4 minus -9 would become 4 plus +9. That would be a good one. I could have an example that was like -3 minus 4, and that would change to -3 plus -4 to get -7. So I would want some examples in there to kind of help me with that. Okay, all right, then we have multiply and divide, the easiest rules of integers, the very, very simplest rules. What are those rules? I can hear from some more people, because all of you guys have flipbooks that should be done. What are the rules? What are the rules? Still seeing the same hands up, so I think I'm going to call on Gavin. Should know where's flipbook. Okay, well, you should still know rules for multiply and divide. Not for integers, but yeah.
if it's the same sign,
Okay,
then it's positive.
okay. Okay, that works as long as there's only 2, right? So you can totally say that, Daniel.
1 negative 1 equal to negative 2 negative equals to positive. Then,
positive 12. If you have negative 3 times a positive 4, that is a negative 12. Okay, and for some of you, you might want to add one that has like 3 negatives because you struggle with that sometimes. Also, I told you to add your 0 rule. So what is 7 divided by 0? Undefined, yes. Okay, and we talked about y yesterday. If I said 0 divided by 6, what is that? 0. It is legal for me to buy 0 pizzas and divide it amongst 6 people. They're just not going to get it. They just get 0. It's not legal for me to do 7 divided by 0. I can't buy 7 pizzas for nobody. That wouldn't make sense. Okay? All right, so let's use all of these rules now to do order of operations. This is where it gets tricky. Oh my goodness.
Wait, don't.
Well, you guys should have all that written down. It's in your flip book. Right? Yeah, you have it. You have it. Okay, so here's our order of operations. You should remember this from last year. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, or you can say PEMDAS. Okay? What you need to remember is that it's not just multiply, then divide. Multiply and divide actually goes together, and it's whichever one comes first. And the same thing with add and subtract. It's whichever comes first. Okay, so that's important. So let's look at this first one, and we have to take it step by step. P stands for parentheses. There are no parentheses there. E stands for exponents. There's no exponents there. Then we've got multiply, divide. There's no multiply or divide. So the last thing is add and subtract, and it's add or subtract. So we're just going to start at the beginning. What is negative 1 plus 5? Positive 4. Positive 4. Minus negative 8 minus 6. Then we go to the next step, which is right here. What do we have to do with subtraction? Same, change, change. So same, change, change. 4 plus 8 is 12. And now we can do minus 6. 12 minus 6 is 6. Okay, so we have to take it step by step, all the way through the problem. Okay, so we look at the next one. The next one is all adding and subtracting. So start at the beginning, work our way through. So we start with the first part, which is 15 plus negative 18. What would that be? Negative 3. Start at the beginning. Now we have minus negative 6, minus negative 10. Now I go to the next set. What do I have to do there? What's the rule? Good. Change, change, change. So same, change, change. Negative 3 plus 6 is 3 minus negative 10. Now what do? Same, change, change again. So same, change, change, and I get 13. Very good. All right, so now we get into some that have parentheses. And the first thing we have to do is anything in parentheses. And then inside the parentheses, we have basically absolute value is like a parenthesis. So how do we find the absolute value of something? Distance from 0. Very good. So my eyes need to go here first. And I have 4 divided by negative 29. How far is negative 31 from 0? 31. Positive 31. Good. Okay. Now I can go to my parentheses. What is negative 29 plus 31?
Negative,
The negative 2? Are you sure?
No, it's positive 2.
Positive 2.
So it's 1 negative.
Okay. No, this one on this rule is if you owe someone 29 and you have 31 in your pocket, you have 2 left over after you pay them off. Okay. And then now I have 4 divided by 2, which is 2. Very good. I'm going to skip this one. We're going to skip that one. Go on to the other ones. Okay, so next one, absolute value bars, this is important, are just like parentheses. You have to work everything inside of them, okay, before you can take their absolute value. So I'm going to start inside here,